Hi, and welcome back to Embracing Essence. This is Amy, and Christine is joining us again to discuss embodying our power and what that looks like, what that sound like, the journey back to finding our power after many, many times of having experience through life of giving away our power unknowingly and identifying when we do that and how to regain that. So welcome, Christine.
Thank you, Amy. It's great to be back. Yeah, so somewhere along the journey, we suddenly realized that we have been giving away our power and that we have a great power within us. And the way we've been doing things is not helpful to our innate beings. And so it can be a discombobulating and confusing process, disconnecting from giving away our power to connecting back into the true source of our power, which is the divine light within. So why don't you take it for
Yeah,
a minute?
definitely. Yes, I feel along the path. I felt we both felt this was a really important topic to discuss, being that as we regain our power and embody our truth more and more, we have um, bumps along the road to get us to into awareness of where are we giving away our power, who are we giving away our power, and why. The big one is why. A lot of it I have found personally. It's a lot of it is just ingrained mistruths that I have adopted to believe and think were true, and that I, say all these negative emotions that we have, say programmed within ourselves as truths. We have to unbury and identify and look at, and is this true or not? And if it's not, let's get rid of it, and then embody a new way of being, as that no longer like identifies as true, resonates. So then you're activating different aspects of self to come in to be a little, to shifting it a little bit in a higher frequency, or acting in a different way, that will resonate out as like just more empowering. You act a certain way, you act differently in a certain situation because you've regained your power. You don't believe in that, you don't resonate in that lower frequency as much. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. There is an intrinsic switch that happens when we are realizing through the bumps along the way of where we have given our power away and why. The switch is from what's happening to us, what's happening out there, what they're doing to me. It becomes not so much out there, but what's going on inside of me. What am I feeling? What information am I receiving? Where am I being guided? And what feels right to me, despite what else is going on out there, what anybody else says or thinks or believes. So that, I think that basic shift can help with a lot of the untruths that show up along the path. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, taking it from there is like feeling into what makes us happier, right? Like
Yeah.
vibration, like I feel like on those lower aspects of self, when something comes up as not being, or doesn't resonate good within your being, you know, you look, be like, oh, that's, what is that? And I have, go in and do a little inner work, identify that big problem, that, big issue, maybe big program, or a little program. I always say these programs, but they're really just thought forms of belief. So, and they can be like boulder size, or they can be pebbles. And But they all make a difference as we identify them and clear them out, clearing out the rubble, right? Um,
Yeah.
and it's really just a power of intention of focusing on like healing that aspect of self. And this is doing the inner work. And there's a ton of inner work to be done to identify how to embody more and more of our own truth.
Absolutely. And I feel like the first step is listening to what's going on inside, first of all, because one of a very common pattern in that I see in my clients is that deep down inside, we feel like we don't deserve to have our needs met or be happy because it feels selfish on some level, like it's taking away from others, or you're not giving enough if you're focused on yourself. um, so really paying attention to what's coming up, what's going on inside, the thoughts, the feelings, um, the things that we are magnetized and repulsed by, because they're all clues about what's inside, and maybe what needs attention in order to be free.
Yeah. Yeah. And doing that investigative work is so vital to clearing
Yeah.
your energy body. Let's just sum it up like that, because your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual bodies combine to be cleared as you identify each of these little nuggets.
Right. Identify and then work with them, going through the process of the identification, um, acceptance for their part in the whole picture, and then the release, the embrace and release of it all, and to allow it to go, to bring in the new, the light and the healing.
Exactly. Exactly. That's like the biggest recipe right there, that I followed it's for so long, like what the hell's coming up now, and then, okay, let's dig in and like, just allow for things to come through, information, old memories, old, trapped emotions, old, yeah, mainly it's just memories, stored trauma that come up to be looked at, be felt, and it's that inner child that really wants to have that reassurance, and the healing and the nurturing they didn't
Mhm.
receive, whenever that occurred, to get these negative senses of self established, um,
Yeah.
that we keep watering unknowingly, through re-implementing these, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, I'm not, um, good enough, or I don't, I'm not loving enough, or whatever. I'm not
Yeah.
loved, or unlovable, whatever the case may be.
The
Um,
untruths that
yeah, the
we
untruths are
believe
so vast.
subconsciously,
Yeah, our
because
subconscious holds on to all those truths as truth, and it really does shape our reality and how we behave on the outside world, and of course, inside and outside.
I'm
Um,
sorry. It or it was a little spotty for a sec. Could you say that last thing again, please?
oh, I was just saying, inside is out, outside is in. It's all a very mirrored vision.
Yeah, that is a powerful point that you bring up, because we can use that knowledge to, not shun the outside world, because, our power comes from within, but use it as a reflection of what's going on inside, because that's what it truly is.
Right, right. And if anyone's wanting to go down this like self journey path and to open up, I'm sure those watching are. The first thing you can do is just to ask, the question, like what wants to come up to clear.
Mm-hmm.
That's the identification process of, okay, I feel, unsettled. What needs to come up to clear? And then you can totally, if you just open yourself up to receiving your guidance, you're going to get a hunch, an idea, a feeling of where to look, and just trust and allow the process to occur, and it will. Because your intention is set on knowing and receiving help, it'll happen. Um, and then the other steps are to listen, like really, really well. Like listening is just an active way of hearing and then doing what you're guided to do. Your higher self comes in, your guidance team comes in, God source comes in to then steer you in the right direction of what to do to help yourself heal.
Mm-hmm.
And no one else can do the healing for you, like we found. It's an inside job, and we all have this journey to take on healing our physical, mental, all the bodies in this lifetime. It's like accumulated to here now, healing this aspect and these many aspects of self to become more whole.
Absolutely. And so well said, Amy. You covered all of the individual, all of the steps the individual has to go through with our own stuff. And I want to bring up because many of us as well have not only signed up to heal ourselves and perhaps heal others in our circles, but some of us have signed up to heal the collective. And sometimes we'll have stuff coming through us that doesn't make any sense necessarily to our own lives and our own moments when it's happening. But it's coming through because it wants to be witnessed, and we have the abilities to witness it and transform it and heal it for the rest of humanity. So I want to just bring that up because it took me a long time to realize that I do that. I'm like, what's going on with me? And it doesn't make any sense. So I kind of cling on to it instead of just letting it happen and allowing myself to be a vessel or a channel for that healing to occur.
Yeah.
So it helps.
Yeah. Yeah. I found that too. Like, wow, did I sign up for a lot to clear? Yeah. And just honoring that and just saying, okay, I accept.
Yeah, and that's really when that I feel like that happens when you've been practicing, being in tune with what's going on inside you for a while.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And everyone's journey is so different and vastly, it can take different turns for so many, but the recipe really is the same. It may look different, but it really is the same recipe of how to go about the whole business of clearing clearing the inside and doing the inside work. And this is what the inside work is all about, is clearing all of these trapped emotions and these traumas, and then focusing on manifestation of like what you desire. Because when we are cleansing this density out of our body, like it feels heavy. That's why depression and anxiety, that feels so and
Yeah.
hard to move through and hard to be happy, because you literally have so much like weight, emotional weight on your physical being that it's nearly impossible to feel happy, right? Because they're so vibrationally so different.
Yeah.
Like super dense, and then light, happy, joyful emotions that want to come in. But it's just like, I think I'm very visual. So I think of this as like a cylinder filled with like cement. And that's how our bodies are. And the more we can release the denser emotions, the more we have room at the top to come in to fill. And as we do our work, throughout the months and years it takes to clear out these bodies, to just bring in more and more light with your daily meditations, your intentional, mantras you're doing, your positive reinforcements of calling in these newer alignments of being, can come in and lighten up the load. So you can have those moments come back in of happiness and joyfulness and of radiating positivity, like rather than, oh, it's humdrum, because we've all been there. We've all been in these various cycles. They become less and less frequent as you do your job of the inside work, to making yourself this higher vibrating being. That, of course, amplifies out to everyone else to also activate their own light body and do this work.
Absolutely. And you brought up like the most powerful power we have, and that is to align with the highest vibration, the vibration of our creator, of heaven. Because no matter what we have going on in our lives that we might be thinking about manifesting or this or that, like the highest power is in with the creator. And our greatest one of our greatest powers as human beings is that we have co-creative power. So aligning that power with our creator is the greatest way to increase our power and have that positive effect in our worlds, in our communities and lives.
Yeah, and you also wanted to talk about the focus of creating.
Oh yeah, because one of the greatest powers we have is the power to focus. That, like you said, that is our creative power. Whatever we're focusing on, we are creating, whether we know it or not. So being aware of this and being intentional and following through with the divine guidance is a superpower that we have. It does take a lot of vigilance, but it also brings out all the things that aren't in alignment with that
Mhm.
highest frequency for healing. So it's a win-win.
It shows you what else to work on.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Just when I thought I was clear for a minute.
And that's just it too. It's like it comes up in layers, like the wound of, say, you can have any kind of relationship wound, with this, matriarchal or patriarchal type of energy. It shows up in your life different ways. And then it could be past life, it could be current life. But they all have layers to them and different times. It just seems to be so funny of when they occur. You do think, I thought I already cleared that. Or, I already dealt with that. But no, there's different aspects to heal.
Sure. I think that brings up a great point because there are layers to our biggest, deepest wounds. There are most certainly layers to it. And our minds very much like to finish it all at once and just be done with it. And it's not helpful or realistic to assume that for ourselves. It puts pressure on ourselves and it doesn't honor the process.
Yeah. And a big, big, big part of doing this work is getting out of your own way. But that's really difficult to do, right? It seems. And it until you practice the whole action. But a lot of that has to do with control, because many of us
Mm.
like to be in control. We like to just know it happens, when it happens, and how it happens, and we like to know, like to be always in control, because many of us weren't in control of our younger years, and that's when this whole behavioral like need for control needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
But I was very impatient in the very beginning of my like growth of awakening into this healing path. I was very impatient with myself because I was, this perfectionist that wanted everything to be done sooner than later and already done yesterday, but
Oh,
that has to be slowly addressed, right? As like, okay, we can be patient and we can just trust and allow, right? That's a process
that's
and it doesn't happen overnight.
it's a huge process. Oh, it's taken it. I'm going on 12 years plus learning to trust life,
Yeah.
learning to trust myself, all of my knowings and my thoughts, my feelings. It it's a big process because like you said, you didn't have the environment that supported you in trusting and not needing to have control over your environment or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to say about that, but but the main point here is just to trust and allow what's coming through with your healing, um, and to set the intention of manifestation of healing and desiring having those desires met with your highest frequency and alignment, so that you know it puts things in motion that you want rather than what you don't.
Yeah, like putting out the affirmation that all of my needs will be met in gentle and happy ways, or stuff like that that helps soothe those bumpy areas that we might
Yeah, or I will experience this healing path with ease and grace, or
have.
as much ease and grace, because if you call that in, it will be.
Yeah, as much as I can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So is there anything else you would like to discuss here, more powerful tips to embracing our own power and activating that those power chords, you know
Yeah. Yeah, I touched briefly on it, but I do feel guided to expand a little bit more. But the power of focusing on ourselves, as versus others in situations, issues, conflicts, especially difficulties. Um, how we only have control over what we do in the end. We can work with our thoughts, we can allow our feelings, but we have no idea about anybody else's experience or process, or where they're coming from, what they're thinking about us, and nor does it matter really at the end of the day, because it matters how we feel and think about ourselves, and because that's the filter that our whole world goes through, really.
Yeah, and a big one here, while you're doing the healing process, is to not feel like you have to engage with every trigger, right? Like the triggers that we respond to, internally or externally, are just little flags of things we need to look at to heal within. Because
Mhm.
it's the more of the mirror effect happening. What
So
is going on
true.
the outside of us is also called for work to be done inside of things we may not even know exist
Yes,
often.
it's so hard, because the trigger is usually a valid thing to be triggered about, to be upset about, or but so it's a focal point. But so often we lack the understanding that we wouldn't be triggered unless it was already within us. So instead of addressing the trigger and the triggerer and the events, we take the power back and we look within us and investigate, allow, just give space to whatever wants to come up to be shared or healed, whatever
Yeah.
whatever you need to do with it.
Yes. I say this to my kids all the time and trying to help them with this process. I'm like, well, if you're triggered, be okay with the trigger of your sibling, but then you're really just giving your power away when you're exploding with emotion and giving that, you're feeding their fire almost, and you're giving away your power. So if you are
And
triggered, go, oh, next time just try to be like aware of them trying to trigger you and holding your power and not responding, not reacting, and then find a different way to respond that that maybe they're not expecting. Although that's really hard practice for a kid, who's pure emotion, right?
serious,
Wants to just be that way. But I'm like, man, if I knew this as a kid, that would have been so helpful.
seriously,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah, it's very helpful. And it gives them perspective. And it's just repeating that over and over and over and over, until they can kind of be like, yes, I didn't need to act that way. I could
Yeah,
keep my power. And then they totally change their tune. It's not met with the same energy and it's different. Like, oh, I guess I can't act that way.
absolutely. It's great info to arm them with, because especially today, currently, the world is such an emotionally reactive place, and trigger this, trigger that, and everybody's offended. So teaching them and reminding ourselves that that we don't have to react is so, so powerful. I remember an important experience I had where I was in I was at the eye doctor, and I was like kind of like strapped in the machine, but I wasn't physically restrained. I just had these things around me, and he said something that totally triggered me. And I wanted to walk out of there, but I couldn't. I was sitting there like it was ridiculous in my mind to leave. So I just sat there and I sat with it. I just let it be. And pretty soon it softened up. And then actually the guy kind of revealed a different side of himself, and it made me understand why he acted that way. I mean, it was pretty
Pretty
amazing.
cool. Yeah. That reminds me of just how, if you look at the world today, you see that there's so much happening. It's all playing out really kind of chaotically, but it's still manipulated chaos.
Yeah.
And but it's stirring up everyone's emotional body, right? Who haven't been doing the work, who haven't been aware of anything, of going on within is without's within. And that's a concept that's really quite interesting at first when you first start thinking about this paradigm.
Yeah.
Um, but it really is helping people becoming more aware of like their own emotional state of like, oh gosh, I'm so like out of whack. Everything's just driving me crazy and I'm so bombarded. Like they're like really, really shook up by what's going on. And that just is an invitation for everyone who feels that way to go within, to kind of to go to start the journey of healing their inner world. then, once their inner world is, identified and start the work and the process, you're not going to be as triggered by what's going on in the world as before.
I am living testimony of that.
Right? I think we all are after the past 2 years.
Oh my
We've
gosh.
all been put through the ringer.
Yes. And
Um,
like you said, it is the gift of the chaos of the times that
huh,
it is helping people be aware of those emotions by turning up the volume, so they can eventually look within and
yeah,
find the power and yeah,
yeah, bringing it full
everything.
circle. Yeah.
Mhm.
But it really is like the silver lining of this whole past 2 years, of everyone being put to this challenge of identifying what's going on within, without, and coming to acceptance of how to get through it. And a lot of times, I think people are turning towards being more mindful and doing this work. Um, and if not, they will in the coming weeks and months. It's going to be a never ending ascension we all are put in. Because it's the alarm clocks are going off for everyone to do this more and more and more and to become their highest version.
Yeah, yeah, it is the cycle of or the journey of evolution that we are all on, whatever path, whatever pace, you know, there it's all going to the same place, and everything that's happening is assisting us all in our own unique way, and it's really beautiful and magical to get aligned with these truths because they are so empowering.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The recipe, it sounds a lot easier than it is, right? Like the process of regaining and embodying your power. It is a process. And the more we step into this every single day, just a little bit more, we become stronger beings, that are empowering yourselves and others to, do this work. So yeah, thank you for doing your work
Oh.
and rippling out, the vibration you ripple out in your world. And to everyone else doing their own work, it's amazing, and it all is making so much difference. Yes.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes.
Christine, for coming on today again. So fun to have these discussions with you.
You're welcome. It's an honor, and I'm so happy I can be here.
Awesome. We'll see you next time on Embracing S.
Bye.